Hello friends and enemies, welcome back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, and I wanted to intro my new series I'm doing. My goal is to do these once a month / every other month depending on what's going on, but I'm gonna do something called Reading the Trope. So I'm gonna pick a trope, and that month I'm gonna read a selection of books that fall into that trope. I'm using the Fated Mates interstitials and the Smart Bitches Trashy Books bookfinder as a resource for these tropes. So you're probably like, well, what's the first trope? I mean, it's in the title, but we're going with amnesia because it's bonkers. It's something that doesn't happen in real life, but we get it in soap operas, we get it in books, we get it in TV shows and movies. It was my favorite trope on fanfiction for Sailor Moon fanfiction when I was a child. It was like a key trope for Darien in Sailor Moon, for like who his parents were in a lot of fanfics I read. I don't remember if it was in the show or not, but beyond the point. I read a lot of Sailor Moon fanfiction. There was a lot of amnesia in that fanfiction for some reason. So I thought, let's do amnesia. The goal with these will be to read a minimum of 5 books. I may read a few more. It just depends on the selection I have. So the other goal is one title that's on KU, one title that is on Audible Escape, and at least one BIPOC or underrepresented author. Just depends on what I'm finding. So for amnesia, I've struggled to find an LGBTQ romance that features amnesia that I know is in some ways own voices. I will also make sure I read at least one contemporary and one historical with this trope, and then mix in some other genres as needed. So here are the books I'm gonna read for amnesia. The books I have picked out as tentatives on the list are Tempting the Bride by Sherry Thomas. This is on Audible Escape. I've actually already started it, so. And then I picked out The Amorous Education of Celia Seton. So those are my 2 historical options. I will probably only read one, but we'll see. Then I picked for my KU Bound to the Battle God by Ruby Dixon. I couldn't resist. I mean, she has an amnesia plot book. We had to put it on this list. Then for some contemporary options, I have Love Will Always Remember You by Tracy Livesay. I have Pregnesia, which Pregnesia is high on my list because I've bought this book because it sounds so bonker pants. This is by Carly Cassidy, and she's literally pregnant with amnesia. I don't know. I felt like I should pick a Harlequin title if possible, like this classic, like the monthly Harlequins, you know? So Pregnesia's on the list for that, or A Baby to Bind His Bride. That's by Caitlin Cruz. It's another like Harlequin Presents type title. And then the last option I gave myself is Forgotten Sins by Rebecca Zanetti. This is a romantic suspense, but I think I'm gonna opt for Pregnesia. So those are the books I'm currently debating reading for this vlog. I'm trying to give myself options because I am a little bit of a mood reader, but I'm just so excited to dive in. And like I said, I've already actually started on book 1, which is why I'm filming this intro now. Here's the deal. I think amnesia is a really interesting trope because it's a device used to often either right wrongs, give a second chance, or grow the relationship between the characters in an unexpected way. I most recently read this trope with Repeat by Kylie Scott, which is on the Audible Escape package, where she has amnesia and the only person besides her sister who kind of knows what happened is her ex, and it's like her ex-fiance. So she like walks into the tattoo shop because she finds out that's where she got it, and he's like, get out. You get out of here now. I do not want to see you. And she explains what happens, and he kind of starts helping her remember things, and it unfolds very interesting. And it's a way to, like, again, they broke apart, and it's bringing them back together in like a really fun and realistic way almost that couldn't happen always without the amnesia. So I'm gonna dive into Tempting the Bride by Sherry Thomas, and I will report back when I finish that and let you know my thoughts. And then, like I said, at the end I want to have like a little discussion about what worked and didn't work with this trope for me. Hello, it is Tuesday, January 14th, and I was gonna update you because I finished my first amnesia book. It was a 3-star read. It was Tempting the Bride by Sherry Thomas. It's my first ever Sherry Thomas, and I really, really like her writing, and I cannot wait to read more. This was about Helena, and David. Helena is having a pseudo affair. It's not an affair like we're used to with this guy she's known since she was like 22, and he's married, and she almost gets caught. So David, her brother's best friend, comes to help her out of the situation, and they have to pretend they're married. Well, literally the next day after they like are pretending to be married, she ends up getting hurt and hits her head, so she gets amnesia. It's very interesting because I think the amnesia in this is used as a way to help her see David in a different light, and to see that all these years he's really just been like trying to get her attention and like care about her, but in the like annoying boy way, which is, you know, not being nice. That probably sounds really bad. Like, it sounds bad, right? I mean, this is from 2012. I think the boys will be boys mentality was much stronger then, especially more than it is now. So it just, like, it was really fun. It was cute. I really liked how it all played out overall. My favorite part of the book was David's daughter, who is named B, and was just, I don't love kids in romance, and I thought she was really well done and really unique, but in a believable way, because I was a strange child. That is probably not a surprise to anyone who watches my channel. And I don't know, I related to the little girl a lot. It was a fun read. This is a great pickup on Audible Escape, so highly recommend. But yeah, that's book 1 done. That was a 3-star read, and we're gonna dive into the next one. I'll be back in a little bit with another update. Bye. Hello. It is now January 15th. Last night I decided to start on Amnesia by Carla Cassidy. I think I got that right. It took a lot for me not to just stay up all night and read this book. It's not that long. It's only like 225-ish pages. It's wild, y'all. Like, I heard about this on Fated Mates, and actually I'd heard about it before that from someone about like that the title was ridiculous, and I was immediately like, I'm buying this. So this is actually my first ever like Harlequin monthly imprint that I've read / weekly. I don't know how often these come out. This is part of the Harlequin Intrigue series. I've actually been hunting down like a physical copy of it every time I go to used bookstores, because I just think the title is so funny. I want it on my shelves. But so I started this last night, and it is like, it kicks off with a bang. He is a repo man, and he's doing a job he normally wouldn't do, which is repossessing this car, because he knows the guy who that owns the dealership. And there's not been a payment made on this car in months. He gets in, and all of a sudden there's a hand on his shoulder, and it's this woman in the back seat whose like face is all jacked up because she got something happened. We actually don't know what yet. And he is like, okay, well, I'll just take you with me, and then I will take you to the hospital or something while we figure out what happened. Well, she gets out of the car when they get to the used car dealership, and he's like, you're 8 months pregnant. What the fuck is going on? And his sister's a nurse, so he takes her there, and his sister like helps clean her up and stuff. And I'm on like day 2 after the morning after him helping her, and we're finding out what's going on. I have to say that, like, honestly, I feel like if you're interested in writing romance, reading this Harlequin really like puts pacing in its place, and it teaches it. Like, I feel like you could read a bunch of these and like study how they're paced, because I was like just going and didn't realize it, and like it was way too late, so I went to bed. But I was like, man, I could have just stayed up all night reading this and not realized time passed. So I feel like anyone interested in writing should be reading a Harlequin like this to like learn pacing and like how to move a story along quickly. This is so far hilarious. It's not bad though. Like, it's really quite good. I'm impressed by the writing, and I'm impressed by the pacing overall so far. We shall see what I think of how it uses amnesia. This one is definitely probably going to be the more ridiculous one of the ones that I read. So I'm just very, very interested to see how this all works out. I will check in with you later today when I finish this book, and I can't wait. Like, I'm really excited to sit down and read it today. So I will see you soon. I just finished Amnesia, and y'all, I'm dead. That book is wild. It's so wild. it shouldn't work. And yet for some reason, I really enjoyed it. I actually haven't rated it yet because I'm still like waffling between like a 3 and a 4. Yes, you heard me right. Between a 3 and a 4 for a book about a pregnant lady with amnesia. What the fuck is going on in my life right now? This was delightful. I didn't love the ending, and that really knocks it down, possibly to a 3 for me. But I really think overall, this is a really good example of how Harlequins like this, like the intrigue line, and I think desire is another line, really do a good job of like hitting a lot of plot and a lot of building and relationship building in not a lot of pages. And it's a masterclass of romance writing, in my opinion, because I do think romance can be the hardest thing to write because you do have to really build that plot and that relationship. Yeah, so Pragnesia follows Lucas Washington, who is a repo man, but like for fancy stuff like yachts and planes, with his 2 other Navy SEAL buddies. And Jane Doe is Jane Doe's on the run. We know that, we just don't know why or what's going on. She starts to regain some memories. It obviously, like I think I said earlier, it felt very creepy. My guess was a cult. I wasn't wrong. So that was all great. There's a great like end action sequence to save her. Freaking delightful. 3 out of 5 stars, I think, is gonna be my final like points, my final ratings for it. I am very amused by this book. The whole premise, the title, it's just perfect. And I might have to buy it to put on my bookshelf because it's so ridiculous that I like really love it. And I highly suggest you read it, honestly. I think everything about that book shouldn't have worked for me, and for some reason I really enjoyed it. So the other book I picked up that apparently has amnesia in it, but I have not confirmed because I don't really want to spoil myself too much, so hopefully this isn't wasted time, is Bound to the Battle God by Ruby Dixon. She just went through a portal into another world. So we'll see how that goes. I'm very curious. It sounds wild. This cover is wild as well. But I can't wait to listen to this. But it's like a 21-hour audiobook. Thank goodness I listen at like 2.5 speed. Because that makes it a lot more manageable. I think it brings it down to 8 hours and some change. It's 666 pages because I guess, I mean, I hope there's some sweet like double references just for the page count alone. But yeah, it's a long one. I was surprised. Hello from my regular update location of my desk. So here's what's up. I am finally far enough into Bound to the Battle God, that cover, that delightful thing, to kind of give a bit of a plot summary. So our main character, Faith, time travels through a portal into another world and is bound to a god that has been split into 4 people. She is his human counterpart. She has to eat, sleep, drink, all that fun stuff for him alone. So he doesn't sleep and he has to protect her and keep her alive. If she dies, he dies. Fun part, Aaron, our battle god, does not know what the hell is going on. So he's basically lost most of his memory, slowly regaining it, thank goodness. But yeah, that's where we're at. They are on quite an adventure in this world. And it's really interesting. You can tell that this book was written over a long period of time because the writing style is like slowly getting better as I go. And I need to go dig in Ruby's group on Facebook to see if there's any discussion of this. I would be curious to know. I'm enjoying it though. It's quite fun so far, and we'll see. The other thing I started is The Amorous Education of Celia Seton. And this is our other historical pick. This one, the guy gets hit over the head. She's been kidnapped, is stripped down to nothing but her like slip. And she comes out of this attic. She's been locked in and he's knocked out and he doesn't know who he is. So she kind of lies to him and tells him he's Terrence Fish instead of, what was his name? You better ignore the mess behind me. I'm literally like going through everything I own and getting rid of stuff. His real name is Tarquin Compton. He knows something's up, but he doesn't know what's up. And so yeah, she is working on teaching him things. I'm pretty early and I'm only like 10 or 20% through it. I am hoping to finish it today. And I'm hoping to finish the audiobook tomorrow, but we'll see. Book number 3 is done for Amnesia. So I just finished Bound to the Battle God by Ruby Dixon. Oh my gosh, why did my brain forget her name? So it's super cold here for the next 2 days, which means I am going to be at home, snuggled up, finishing my Amnesia books. Okay, so I just finished that, and I think this is the weirdest book I've read for the readathon, for my Reading the Tropes video, because it's not Amnesia like the other books, if that makes sense. He kind of just doesn't remember who he is because he gets reincarnated occasionally. The other thing about it is it was like 666 pages long. So Ruby Dixon generally I feel like runs in the 350 length at most for books, and probably less than that usually, because like I think all of her audiobooks are 7 hours or less, and this was like 22. Way too long. I enjoyed quite a few parts of it, but I don't think it fully utilized the Amnesia trope, to be honest with you. So it still counts, obviously, for this reading the tropes, but I think it's the example that like least utilized the trope. Okay, so I just finished filming another video, so you'll recognize what I'm in right now, but I am like 30% through The Amorous Education of Celia Seton, and I'm dying right now. So it's actually like picked up and I'm really in, but there was a chapter header that I have to share. Okay, so far in this book, there have been 2 things that cracked me up. One is amnesiacs can't be choosers, which all of the books I've read so far I feel like is accurate. And then on chapter 8, the little like blurb under the chapter is, never underestimate the importance of cheese. And as someone who has been to a store called Cheese and Crack in Portland, I highly agree, because that store was amazing. Like, so good. It was all cheese and crackers. I'm an easily pleased woman, and if there's cheese involved, I'll be there. Hello. So I just wanted to do a quick pop-in. I already had my camera on the tripod, so I was just like, oh, we'll just use this. So it is the last book. So I finished book number 4 for the Amnesias TBR, and that was The Amorous Education of Celia Seton by Miranda Neville. So I didn't like this one really. I gave it a 3-star. I think the problem with it is it's like 3 books in one. So there's like 3 very distinct story arcs happening while you're reading it. I really liked the solving the mystery part, but it just kept being annoying because they were just separated from each other kind of, because they were arguing over whether or not they were gonna get married. I have very weird feelings about this. It felt very old school, although it was published in 2011. It felt like it was written in the 90s. So it kind of reminded me of Lord of Scoundrels by Loretta Chase, but not executed as nicely or cleanly as that was. Like Lord of Scoundrels was like, okay, here's this beat point of the story and we're gonna move on to the next beat of the story. This felt like a weird mishmash. I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say don't read it, but it was another 3-star read, just like the Battle God, Bound to the Battle God was for me. This one at least was quicker, but it still took me forever to freaking read it. Now, I did start the last book in this TBR, which is Love Will Always Remember by Tracy Livesay. And I got through the first like 40 pages and was like, oh no, I don't think I like this. This is too much background and setup. Then she hurt herself and she has lost her memories and is now in, they're calling it retrograde amnesia. Oh, it's so funny. Anyways, that's happening and I'm in. Like, I'm really, really interested to see how this unfolds. Her fiance is not the one with her, it's his brother pretending to be her fiance, but she doesn't know this. And well, that fiance is just a dickwad, so I'm very excited for this to explode. And I literally I worked out, showered, did all that fun stuff, and now I'm gonna go sit down and read until I finish this book because I have to know what happens. So I had a very like different reaction to this book from Celia Seton, in that like at first I was like, oh, I'm not into this, and then immediately like within not much time I was like, I'm so in. I gotta know what happens. So I'm gonna go read that. I will be back with my final amnesia thoughts soon, and I can't wait. I'm really excited to like kind of break this trope down a little bit more once I've read all 5 books. I will talk to you soon. Hello. So, final reading update. I finished the last book in my amnesia TBR, which is so exciting. I finished Love Will Always Remember by Tracy Livesay. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It may be a 5-star read, honestly. I'm not positive yet. I really loved it though. I think this one did the best use of the trope. But I just want to tell you that I finished it. I'm gonna go get Starbucks. So literally, like, you're gonna see me again in just a few minutes. I'm gonna sit down in my desk chair and we're gonna talk about this trope and what I think of it and kind of a quick summary of all the books I read and my overall thoughts on this trope. Will I read it again? Won't I? Is it a new favorite? Possibly. Who knows? I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. Just like I said I would be, sitting. I have my Starbucks, my Irish cream cold brew. This is like my favorite drink. I love the cold brew. But to review, I read 5 books with the amnesia plot. So, what 5 books did I read? Quick plot summaries again. Just in case, I did leave timestamps down below for each book's, like for when I jump to this in case people don't want to watch the reading vlog. But so first I read Tempting the Bride by Sherry Thomas. This is the 3rd book in the Fitzhugh trilogy. This follows Helena, who's having an affair with a married man, although not quite as an illicit affair as you may expect. And she and her, basically, I mean, it's her enemy, David, who is a viscount, viscount, however you say that, is her enemy and her brother's best friend. This book used amnesia as a way to wipe their enemy slate clean and allow Helena to see David in a different light. I really liked David. I thought he was super sweet. I mean, obviously it's my husband's name, so it's also weird reading a romance novel with the hero, the love interest having the same name, but it happens, it's fine. Yeah, I thought he was really sweet overall as a character. She was a good, unlikable heroine, I guess. I mean, I really struggle. Like, I know other people want to call them unlikable or that, but she definitely was very strong-willed and sure of herself in a lot of things. So it was very interesting to have her be so vulnerable at the end of the day. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Pragnesia by Carla Cassidy. This is the wildest book I've ever read. I am still like shocked by this book. It is not what I expected it anyway. And I'm so happy I finally read it. It was such a great read. I think if you want to try like a Harlequin intrigue book and you're open-minded to how it's going to unfold, Pragnesia could be a great pickup. So what happens is Lucas Washington is a repo man, but normally he's not repoing cars. This time he is. He goes to get this car and there's a woman in the back seat asleep and she scares the crap out of him. And when they get to the place where he's bringing the car back to, she gets out of the car and he's like, "You're like 8 months pregnant. What is going on?" And it all devolves into this wild hunt for her by these people who are not good, and then him helping her, obviously big save the day moment. It was so fun. It was a wild ride. It was such a good romantic suspense that is just banana pants. 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend. The 3rd book I read was Bound to the Battle God by Ruby Dixon. I knew that I wanted to pick something on Kindle Unlimited, and this was that. The previous book was my Harlequin imprint pick for these tropes. And Bound to the Battle God was a wild ride. Wild ride, y'all. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars and I'm still not sure about that rating. I think it was interesting. I think it was way too long. Faith goes through a portal into another world where she finds Aaron, who is one aspect of the battle god, and she is chained to him, and if she dies, he dies. It's one of those situations. So it's very interesting how it unfolds, and Aaron doesn't really have his memory, but honestly, like with how amnesia was in the previous books, this book I felt like the amnesia was pretty minor plot point. The bigger plot point was this world that she was building, and I thought it was a really interesting world. It's just, I for one like my Ruby Dixons to be short and quick, and this was not short and quick. It was 666 pages and it was a 22-hour audiobook. It was a lot. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. proceed with caution is my advice on that one. Next, we have the historical romance that I picked, which was The Amorous Education of Celia Seton by Miranda Neville. I really wanted to love this book. It had a lot of things that I really liked about Lord of Scoundrels by Loretta Chase in it, but overall it did not deliver on that multi-story arc for me. I do see why a lot of people like it. I can see why a lot of people don't like it. It had some great quotes and lines in it. It was pretty well written. I just think it felt disjointed overall. And then last but not least is my contemporary pick for this, which is Love Will Always Remember by Tracy Livesay. I loved this book. I was so angry the other night. I had a migraine and I couldn't finish reading this book, and all I wanted to do was read this book. This book shocked me in so many ways. So this book is about Leighton Clark. She works in Washington as a lobbyist. Her fiance Thomas and her are like getting ready to get married. She has this weird attraction to Thomas's brother Jonathan. She's not sure how she feels about it, and something happens. She leaves somewhere and gets hit in the head by a pipe. Amnesia ensues. Her fiance Thomas is out of the country in London for work, and he talks his brother into pretending to be him while she recovers. Well, as you're reading this book, you're like, I don't know how this is gonna work out. I don't know how this is gonna unfold. It unfolds beautifully and it worked so well. The only thing missing, honestly, was a little bit more groveling maybe, but also I think the book worked still because it was really about Leighton coming back to herself, because it seems like in the 6 years of memory she lost, she really lost a piece of her identity overall as a human, and like her true like sense of self and goals for herself. Tracy Livesay's writing is amazing. I love it. I cannot wait to read her newest release that just came out. I am just so excited to read more, that I found a new author out of this that I really love. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It might be a 5-star read. I have to think about it a little longer and I may bump it up. I loved this book so much. So let's talk about Amnesia. It's really interesting because Amnesia is used in all different ways throughout these books that I read. The way in which, you know, like I personally like was not a big fan of this trope going in, which is part of why I picked it. I wanted to read a trope that I haven't read a lot of outside of fan fiction. I don't know why, but I did. And all of that fan fiction has been lost to the internet when the great fan fiction wipe happened back in the day. So I loved that. This was a genre I was coming in, like a trope I was coming into pretty like unaware overall. I really didn't have a lot to think about it going in, but now as I've read these, I think the most interesting thing Amnesia serves in a romance novel is it allows you to erase a point at which things could have gone one way or the other and take the character all the way back to whatever point they don't remember, or a completely clean slate. So in Celia Seton's book, Celia and Tarquin would have never gotten together if he hadn't have had amnesia, because he would have never realized how attracted he was to her because she wasn't fancy enough for him, and seen her value outside of the London ton. In Bound to the Battle God, Aaron, I guess, probably wouldn't have become as attached to Faith, but honestly I really don't think the amnesia served that book very well. In Tempting the Bride by Sherry Thomas, Helena would have never fallen in love with David, nor seen the error in her ways with the other guy she's having an affair with. And it also allowed her to, I think, rediscover her love of certain things. In Pregnesia, well, honestly, I got nothing on Pregnesia. Pregnesia, she wouldn't have escaped this wild situation and gotten put back into this wild situation and then rescued by a hot Navy SEAL guy. That's all I got on Pregnesia. So I would say, like, out of the 5, 3 of the 5 really did a good job with the trope, and I think demonstrated why amnesia can be fun in a romance novel and why it can be used, like what kind of writing device it can be used as. I don't know. I am really interested to read more amnesia books now. I think that this was really fun to do. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment with what trope you want me to read next and kind of dive into more. And let me know, have you read amnesia books or not? Like, Have I been missing out for a long time? Is it like a lesser used trope nowadays? I'm curious at the end of the day about amnesia and your thoughts on it as well. I'm excited to do more of these. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope my breakdowns made a lot of sense. And yeah, I will see you soon. Bye.